So it's a beautiful day here in the Yorkshire Dales, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to go and collect some molehills. I use this as substrate in my tarantula enclosures. Just take it straight from the field and don't do anything to it, pop it straight in with the enclosures, put the tarantula in, let them get on with it. I thought I'd just do like a little video of collecting it, you know, how I use it, the kind of molehills that I look for. My reasoning behind using it is I was buying in commercial compost or topsoil for quite some time, and I was having a lot of issues with fungus gnats and also bits of plastic in in the soil. And it just got me thinking that even though they're commercially available, they're not really, it's not really aimed towards being used for tarantula keeping. And a lot of the ready-made stuff you buy from, you know, pet shops or from shows, I mean, they're fantastic, they're brilliant if you've got one or two, but if you've got quite a large collection, it can get quite pricey. So this method I found of using the molehills is the most cost-effective solution I've found. I mean, as you can see as well, I mean, I live quite rurally. Like, my house is just there. So I'm quite lucky in that I have access to these fields to find it, because you will need landowners' permission before you start collecting stuff. If you're foraging decor or using soil, you need permission. But yeah, you know, I thought I'd take you on a little walk down to bottom field. We'll get some molehills to add to my soil bin. And then I'm going to do some rehousings later. I've got a couple of Brachypalma smithy females that I want to put into some nice big enclosures. So I might do that and pin that onto the end of this video. I need to be careful though, because I've actually got some graved females on the shelving that the Brachypalma smithies will be going on to, so I need to make sure that I disrupt that shelving as minimally as possible. But anyway, let's go for a walk. So here we are at the molehills. You can see there's a few here. There are a few that I've already dug up. I got a surprising amount. I collected over almost 100 litres of molehills, and I store it in a bin. So the thing to note about here is this field here is only used for pasture. It's not arable land, so there's no crops grown here. There's no pesticides, there's no weed killers, there's no chemicals put on this land at all. The only thing that go on here are sheep. At the moment there are no sheep here. They're down in another field, so there's no risk of me getting any fresh poo in the molehills, and these hills here are quite fresh. So I'll cut out and show you a bit closer. So there's a good example of two molehills here. Teasel, get out the way. This one is a bit fresher. You can see it's quite crumbly, it's dry. As you get deeper in, it's a bit more moist and it holds its shape quite well. The older molehills, like this one, you can see the weeds have started to come through it and it's a lot more compact. I tend to leave these ones because sometimes, I don't know if there'll be any here, sometimes if you get into the bottom, ants use it as their home. And when it comes to keeping spiders, you really don't want ants in your enclosures. Ants can be, they can kill the tarantulas. So if you do go out foraging for anything, be it moss, bits of wood, or soil, you want to make sure that there's no ants living in here. Other things like worms, I'm not too concerned about if they get into the enclosures. I once foraged a bit of wood and I found a Lasiodora subcanens juvenile eating a slug that had hiked in. Didn't do any harm to it. It's molted since, it's fine. There can be a bit of a, there's a bit of a, like, how do I describe it? A lot of people in the hobby talk about sterilising the substrates and boiling pieces of wood to make sure that they're free of pests. But I mean, here, especially in the UK, there's going to be very little that's going to affect a tarantula. I mean, there'll be no native mites here that will affect a tarantula. I mean, maybe there could be some worms that might parasitise, potentially. But I mean, even that is, I really don't have any concern for that. I mean, if you're going out foraging, you know, use your logic. You know, pick up things that look fairly dry, that aren't submerged in water, they're not covered in, you know, bird poo or animal droppings. You know, you want things to be quite clean and fresh. So back to the mole hills, like these are quite fresh hills. So it hasn't really had a chance for anything to get in here. I mean, there's, what's that there? There is something, some sort of bug, you know, but that's not any concern. I'll just throw that away. So when I shovel this up, I put it in my bin, and if there are any creepy crawlies in there, I let them find their way out. So yeah, I shall load this up into my trusty trug on wheels. So there's my house over there. It's beautiful. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's stunning. Teasel, sit. Sit. Good boy. So here's the collected trug. It's probably about 45 litres, as that's what the trug holds. This was just 3, maybe 4 molehills that I've dug, you know, just shoveled up. I didn't dig in, I've just taken the surface soil off, as the moles have done the job for us in creating this lovely, quite, you know, well turned soil. There is a bit of shit in this, bits of reed and some weeds that have dug up as well, but that's not a problem. What the main thing is there's no ants, there's no pests, there's no plastic, because this soil has come from underground in a field that has been used as pasture for hundreds of years. The nearest road is, if you look at this barn there, beyond that, where that house is, that's where the nearest road is, along there. So I'm not concerned at all about pollution from the road. If you can hear that clicking noise in the distance, that's actually the pump that pumps spring water from down there all the way back up the field to the house. And that is the water we use for drinking, bathing, washing, everything. And then from there we've got an allotment that's fed from that water as well. And then beyond that an orchard with chickens. It's all rigged up with automatic drinkers from that water. So again, the water for my spiders comes from down there. Before it goes into the house, it is filtered and UV treated. Again, no chemicals. There may be some trace plastics from the filters, but you know, there's, unfortunately in this day and age, there's trace plastics in pretty much everything these days. So it's been a successful day. It's a beautiful part of the world. I am very lucky. So Teasel and I are going to walk this back up to the house. I'm not going to film that because I'm not as fit as I used to be. But I hope you guys found this interesting. I've been using molehill soil only exclusively fairly recently, although I have used it in mix with commercial bought substrates and cocoa coir. But I am trying to move away from that because, I mean, the rural nature of where I live, a lot of the time I can't be bothered to drive to B&Q to go and get some bags of topsoil, where I can just pop to the field and get a bit of exercise in and just collect it myself for free. You know, I've got probably about 150 litres that I've collected over the past couple of days, and this is all just from the surface of molehills. Not damaging the mole's home, they live underground. They will just carry on digging and carry on making molehills. So once I've exhausted my supply, which will probably last me a good, you know, probably 6 months, if not a bit longer than that, then I will come back and get some more. On a dry day though, to make sure that the soil is fairly dry, because another reason why I do this is the commercially bought stuff comes in the black polythene bags, and I find it's too wet, especially to use for some of my arid species. And then I've got to go through the whole process of either laying it outside to dry in the sun or putting it in the oven in batches to try and, you know, and then you don't know where it's been stored. I mean, I've had issues with fungus gnats coming in on commercially bought soils. So I just find this process better. I mean, freshly dug molehills are unlikely to have anything in it, as they're quite, you know, nothing's had the chance to get into it yet. So yeah, I will do a rehousing video later, another day, of the Brachypalma smithies that will be going into some quite big tanks that I've got. They're 30 by 30 by 45 length. Probably a bit too big for Brachypalma smithy. They don't need that amount of floor space, but they're beautiful, and these are kind of their show spiders. You know, I want them in a nice tank to show them off that I can see, because at the moment they're just in little plastic stackable things on the shelving that, you know, they're fine, they're happy in them, but I can't see them, and I'd like to be able to see them more. So that's why they're going into some nice big tanks. The Brachypalma smithy as well gets a lot bigger than the Hamorii. So my Hamorii is just in a 30 by 30 by 20 high cube. The Hamorii will live the rest of her days out in that size enclosure. She doesn't need anything bigger than that. The Hamorii get quite a bit bigger than the smithies get quite a bit bigger than the Hamorii. So I thought I could probably put them into something a bit bigger, a bit more showy, to show them off. Will they stay in them forever? Who knows? I do have some quite large spiders that are still either juvenile or sub-adults, so they don't need to go into them yet, but I've got some Xenesthis and some Pamphobetius that will probably benefit from enclosures of that size. So anyway, I'm going to take this home and have a glass of wine, so catch you guys later.